This is Modern Photo Solutions, helping you find modern solutions for life's photographic journey. Taking you from photo overwhelm to photo fabulous in just a few taps. Your story matters. It's time to start telling it. Hey everyone, welcome to Modern Photo Solutions. I'm Steph Clay, and I am so grateful that you are here with me today. Thank you for letting me be part of your day. This week has been a crazy week around my house. My husband was in the hospital for a couple of days. I posted on Instagram a page that I made and a little bit of information about it, where on the day of the eclipse on Monday, we found out that he needed to go into the hospital for some antibiotic treatments. And so we viewed the eclipse from the hospital parking lot and then got him all checked in. And he's back home now. So that is good. And he's doing well. Thank you for all of your well wishes and your prayers. I really appreciate that so much. So we had the eclipse and that was super exciting. I've seen so many pages that people are making and posting and sharing on social media. And it's really fun to see how everyone is documenting that epic event in history. So fun. I talked a little bit also this past week on an Instagram live that I did about something that I'm going to dive in deeper in this episode. And I shared a shirt that I have that says, "Who Tells Your Story?" And I got that shirt made because of a song in Hamilton. If you are a Hamilton musical fan by any chance, you know exactly where I'm going with this. But if you aren't, there is a song. It's the very last song in the musical and on the soundtrack. And I don't remember the exact name of it. Oh, I think it's "Who Lives, Who Dies, Who Tells Your Story," actually. And there's a quote in it. There's a line in it, I guess. And where they say, we don't have any control over who lives, who dies, and who tells your story. And that, ever since the first time I heard it, that's always made me think. I think it's a really powerful thought and a powerful phrase and quote in the song. And because it's very true, we don't have control over who will tell our story once we're gone. And if we don't tell it, who will tell it? It might still get told, but we won't have control over how it gets told and what gets told. And we're the ones that know the reasons that we do the things that we do. We know our motives. We know all of the extenuating circumstances for decisions that we make and reasons that we do things. And so we're the ones that really can truly tell our stories most accurately. And so we need to do it. And it's something that I've just felt so strongly that we have to do. And sometimes I hear from people that, they don't have kids or they don't have this or their life is, X, Y, and Z. And so it just doesn't matter. And I wholeheartedly disagree, because I truly believe that every person's story matters. And we yearn to connect with one another and to be able to get to know each other. And the only way that we can truly do that is through story. And if we want people to understand us and understand who we really are, it's through telling stories. Even when we meet somebody and we ask each other questions, we're trying to get a story. That's what we're going after. We want to know about people. And it's through story that we do that. And it's through telling our stories. And so it's something that we need to do. And I hope that I can help motivate you a little bit as I am motivating myself, because I've said before, I'm right in this with you. I'm right in here figuring everything out. I don't have all of the answers. I have figured out a lot of things that work for me and have worked for me, and that changes and evolves. I've been at this, as I've mentioned before on previous shows, I've been at this since I was a little girl, 5 or 6 years old. I've been documenting my life. And so I have figured out a lot of different solutions and processes and things that work for me. But what works for me isn't necessarily going to work for everybody. And so I do try to share other systems and processes as well. But there's a lot that I have figured out, but it's not perfect. And I haven't, it's not like I'm doing this perfectly all the time. In fact, I'm not doing it perfectly any of the time. For real, I'm not. But this past week, especially with everything that we've had going on, and the past few months, everything that we've had going on medically in our family, it's just been really crazy. And so documenting my story hasn't been the biggest priority. I have taken time to document some of the big things, getting back to school and my son's stay in the hospital, my Lyme disease, my husband's medical stuff, the eclipse, us viewing the eclipse from the parking lot. So there are some bigger things that I have taken a few minutes here and there to document, which I'm very grateful for, because documenting my story is therapy for me. It truly is. It's how I work through emotions surrounding events in my life, just by putting those pictures into a collage page in the Project Life app and doing a little bit of journaling. It helps me work through and figure out how I feel about things, which is really good to do. And it's also a release for me. A lot of times I'm able to let go of stuff. Once I've documented it, once I've journaled about it, I can let go of it and move on, which is always good. I'm documenting the good stuff too. And one of the big reasons that I do that is because I truly love reliving those happy times and those happy memories, and documenting those is one of the ways that I do that. I'm going to, in just a moment, replay for you the episode in January that I did on the 5 research-based reasons to tell your story. And that is the number 1. And so I'm excited to revisit this because I wanted to revisit it myself. And I thought it would be great for all of us to revisit it as well. The 5 reasons that have been researched and are proven that it's really good for us to document our stories. It's something that I believe in, and I have been empowered by the way that I tell my story and the changes that it's made for me in my life. And that's in one of the lessons in the Heart of Photo Fabulous course. I share how I think it's a 12-minute video, which I think is the longest video in the course. There are 54 lessons in the course. And this one video, I go through and share how documenting my story had a huge impact, a profound impact on me and on my family when I was going through one of the most difficult challenges in my life that I've been through to this point. And it surprised me how much it changed me and in the ways that it changed me. And so that's just a little teaser for one of the things that is in the Heart of Photo Fabulous class. That course covers so much information, and registration is once again open, and you can find the course by going to modernphotosolutions.com. And if you're on iOS, you'll want to go to modernphotosolutions.com/iOS. And if you're on Android, you will want to go to modernphotosolutions.com/Android. And registration for that class is open through the 31st. In this class, just to give you an idea of some of the things that you will learn, because I think people have a little bit of misunderstanding about when I say class. A lot of people think about classes that they've taken related to this industry. If they've taken photography classes or scrapbooking classes or digital scrapbooking classes, memory keeping classes, journaling classes, a lot of people think that it's going to be similar to that. And this course is very, very different from anything else that is on the market, which is exactly why it's priced differently from anything else that is on the market. So in this course, you will learn the system and the processes that I have used to get over 1,000 photo pages of my story told. I haven't looked recently to see how many I have done. I did those first 1,000 pages within 2 years. I did just over 500 pages a year the first 2 years that the Project Life app was out. My pace has slowed down considerably because I started an online business. And so, yeah, my production on the pages has slowed down, but I am still getting my story told for sure. I am a busy working mom now, and I'm an entrepreneur, a business owner. And so anyone that knows someone that owns a business, there's always work to be done. So it's all about prioritizing. And that is one of the things that I teach in the class too, is how to find the time. And it's easier than you think. I promise you can do it. You'll also learn 5 different cloud storage solutions for your photos. iOS version has 5. The Android version has 4. Because in the iOS version, I go over iCloud as well. And so I teach you everything that you need to know about those cloud storage solutions for your phone, how to decide which one is for you, which ones you want to use for your primary backups and have them set up automatically, and which ones you want to use for secondary. I also teach you how to set these up on your phone and how to know when it's safe to delete your photos off of your device, and how to know where they will be deleted. There is a very popular delete guide that's a printable in this class, so that you can look and say, I'm deleting from here. What's going to happen across all of my other cloud storage locations? Super helpful. And you will also learn how to use my favorite apps to put your photos, words, and designer touches into collage pages for your photo books and your albums. How to find the time, like I said, and how to get it done. I will also teach you where to start. This is a big roadblock for a lot of people because they've had something traumatic happen in their life. A lot of times when people have a divorce, they don't know how to document that and how to document going forward. So I don't specifically say this is how to do it with a divorce. I give you the tools that you need so that you can figure it out for yourself. So you can figure out what is going to be telling the story for you that will be true and authentic and that you can find joy from. I will teach you how to get started and the workflow that I use to build my pages and to be able to build them so quickly. What parts of your story that you want to tell and what parts you want to leave out. I will give you tools to help you figure that out. And I will also teach you where to buy more designer products that you can add to your pages and how to add them to your device and to your pages. And then I also teach you how to download those products directly to your device. And through this, you will also learn how to batch transfer older photos to your device so that you can work on them as well. And then lastly, I teach you how to export these pages so that you can get them printed anywhere you want. That was one question that I got from somebody that said, what is your solution for people that are international for printing? And my solution is that I teach you how to export these pages so that you can then transfer them to your computer or directly upload from your device to any printer that you want to use to get your pages printed. I wanted to share one testimonial from one of my students. She came and posted this on Instagram. This was completely unsolicited. It was just a post about registration being open, and she posted this. Such a great class. Don't miss this opportunity. I found Steph's Heart of Photo Fabulous class to be so helpful, especially as an Android user. After completing the class, I now have a workflow for creating layouts that is productive and, most importantly, a new excitement to create layouts. Thank you, Steph, for putting all of this information together in your Heart of Photo Fabulous class. So nice. I love hearing from my students, which I do hear from them quite often. I did send a newsletter out to my class members, asking them to share how many pages they have completed since taking the class. And the total, I believe, was 1142 or 1042, something like that. But when I posted that on Instagram, I had several more students come and post and say, hey, I didn't see that you were looking for this. My pages aren't in that total. And from those that posted, there were another, I believe, about 300 pages that we could add to that. I am going to be sending out another request in the Facebook group for students and via email so that we can include everyone's pages in that total. That's pretty fabulous, though. Those are people that took my class starting in January or starting in March. And the end of March and beginning of April. And those are the kinds of results they are seeing. Some people have finished hundreds of pages, and other people they commented and said, I have 20 pages done, but that's more pages than I completed in years before taking your course. Some people haven't ever done any documenting at all, and they are finally, I've had people private message me on Instagram and say that they had never done anything before, but had wanted to, and now they're getting it done, and they have lots and lots of pages telling their story, telling their memories, and through photos and through words. And that's super exciting for me. That's why I do what I do, because I've seen the power of telling our stories in my own life, and I've seen it in other people's lives as well. I've seen it in my kids' lives. I've seen the difference that this makes for me individually, for my children individually, and for us together as a family. So let's do this. Let's jump in and get our story told. If you have a method that you're using to tell your story that is successful for you, I would love to hear about it. Drop me an email and maybe we can have you come on the show and share it with our listeners as well, because that's what this podcast is about. I wanted to share some reviews for this podcast as well from iTunes really quickly. I appreciate those of you that have taken the time to leave a review in iTunes. It's great to be able to have some reviews in there as people are looking and trying to figure out if this is going to be a good podcast for them. So this review is from KJ Mertz, and she says, I used to listen to Steph on her previous podcast and was thrilled that she is back. She always has so much great information on technology to share. Thank you so much for that review. I appreciate it. And this is from Pleading Teacher, and she says, inspiring me to record my story. I first learned of Steph through her free course on the Google Photos app, and it was super helpful. I had never heard about Project Life before, but I have listened to a few podcast episodes, and now I am super excited to get started. And then this last one is from Memory Maker Pick Taker. Love that username. And she says, love this podcast. I've been listening, and I shouldn't assume it's a she. It could be a he. I only have 1% male listeners, but hey, I should not just assume. I've been listening to other podcasts Steph's been a part of for years, but just discovered this gem. I learned several tips and tricks already and can't wait to finish listening to the other episodes I missed. And actually on my old podcast, I did have a couple of truck drivers that would listen to the podcast so that they could be inspired to document their story. And they got their wives listening as well. So that was kind of a fun story to hear from them. And like I said, that just circles us back to story. It's so great for me to hear people's stories, to be able to connect with all of you. And as I see you on Instagram, as you leave comments and I go and look at your profiles and see your stories that you have in your life, the bits of events and memories that make up your life, I'm always so impressed and so inspired, really. And I always think, I hope they're getting these stories down, because the challenges are important to get down so that people that come after us know what the challenges were and how we dealt with them. And also so that we can work through them. It really does help us work through those. I've always said that documenting is the cheapest therapy and the best therapy I've ever had. So let's jump into those 5 research-based reasons to document our stories. So the first thing that I want to talk about is some research that's been done. You may have heard about the Happiness Project by Gretchen Rubin. And she discovered that recalling happy times from the past increases happiness now. And she actually suggests in her YouTube videos on her YouTube channel, taking some photos and putting together a photo book is a really great way to revisit those happy times and have them increase your happiness right now. I love that suggestion, and that is, of course, something that I've found in my own life as I've worked through different projects. I believe that it's probably the main reason that I love documenting my Disney vacations is because Disney is such a happy thing for me. I love Disney. And if you're not a Disney fan, it's only because you haven't been to Disney with me. I promise I have taken many anti-Disney people and turned them into converts, which I'm very proud of. And they become Disney crazed just like me. And it's really fun for me to see. So if you're not a Disney fan, that's the reason why. You just haven't done it right yet. And all you need to do is do it the right way, and then you will be a Disney fan. But when I'm at Disney, I am like a child, and it is so fun. And so taking those photos from those vacations and being able to revisit them as I work with them and create with them, and then to be able to pull that photo book out and look at it at any time brings me true happiness. It really does. I feel increased happiness when I look through those. And really, any vacation for me, documenting it and looking through the books once they're printed really does increase my happiness. Vacations are some of my most happy times and my most connected times with my family too. And so that's probably why those for sure are things that I always try to document. I'm not as good about other events. Holidays, I'm not as good about. Other things like that, I'm not always as good about. But vacations, for sure, I'm really good about. And I think that that's why. I think it's because they do increase my happiness. Paul Zak, number 2, we're on to number 2 now. Paul Zak has found that hearing a story, and I've talked about this before on the podcast, hearing a story, a narrative with a beginning, middle, and an end cause our brains to release cortisol and oxytocin. These chemicals trigger the uniquely human abilities to connect, empathize, and make meaning. We all have a desire to tell our story. It's in our DNA. And we have a desire to hear other people's stories too. That is in our DNA as well. It is what helps us connect with other people, to find those common grounds, those common things, the threads that can bind us together. It is in our DNA. I know that I have learned so much from people that have been willing to share their story with me. And I have grown so much from these people, and I'm so grateful for it. Now, this doesn't mean that we go and share our most heartfelt and hardest stories that we've been through with everybody. One of the things that I really appreciate that Brene Brown teaches is that not everybody deserves to see our stretch marks. We have stretch mark friends that, you know, they're going to see our stretch marks and they're still going to stick around. They're not going to run away from us. And so we don't share everything with everybody. That's not what sharing our story is about. I am a firm believer that I'm okay sharing scars, but I'm not okay sharing open wounds. And I don't think that just anybody wants to see my open wounds either. And so I am okay sharing what I've learned after I've been through a really hard thing and sharing how I've grown. But I don't necessarily want everyone to see the blood and the guts when I'm going through it. And I think that that's okay too. I really think that's a healthy approach for life. But people in my life that I've been close enough to that have shared those stories with me, that I am a stretch mark friend for, and the people that are a stretch mark friend for me that I've been able to share these stories with, there is a real connection, and we desire that as human beings. And so I believe that telling our story through photos and words having that desire, I think most people have that desire too, because the photos do bring back memories and they are a huge part of our story. And that's why you're here, which is really exciting to me. Okay, the third thing. The more children know about their family's history, the stronger their sense of control over their lives, the higher their self-esteem, and the more successfully they believed their families functioned. This is all found in an article on the New York Times that I will link to on the site. But it's research that's been done, and it is fascinating research. And these psychologists decided to see, one psychologist was finding that in her research, as she worked with kids that had learning disabilities, the ones that seemed to be resilient and deal with this challenge the best were the ones that seemed to know a lot about their family history and their family stories. Not just the facts of, when people were born, but the real stories in their family. And so they did some research to find out if this really was a true thing and compared, asked questions and compared. So one of the things that they did was they went through and asked 20 questions, and they are called the Do You Know questions, the Do You Know scale. And they asked these kids these questions, and these are questions that the only way they would know the answers to these questions is if somebody passed it on to them in a story form. It wasn't something that they could have experienced firsthand at all. Some examples of the questions are, do you know where your grandparents grew up? Do you know where your mom and dad went to high school? Do you know where your parents met? Do you know an illness or something really terrible that happened in your family? Do you know the story of your birth? So those are some examples of the questions that they asked. And the Do You Know scale turned out to be the best single predictor of children's emotional health and happiness. Isn't that really amazing and interesting? So they said that there seems to be three types of narratives that families will tell. And here are some examples of those narratives. So the first narrative is what they call the ascending narrative, where their example is, son, we came to this country, we had nothing, our family worked and we're successful, and okay. So that's the ascending family narrative. And then the second common narrative, is the descending family narrative. And it's, sweetheart, we used to have it all and then we lost everything. And that's, the family narrative. Our family used to have it all and then we lost everything. And then the third, the most helpful narrative, is the one that's called the oscillating family narrative. And it goes something like this. And this is from that article. Dear, let me tell you, we've had ups and downs in our family. We built a family business. Your grandfather was the pillar of the community. Your mother was on the board of the hospital, but we also had setbacks. You had an uncle that was once arrested. We had a house burned down. Your father lost a job. No matter what happened, we always stuck together as a family. So it's also including those hard challenges that sometimes, as we're telling our story and documenting them through photos and words, we skip over those. Those are really, really important that we include these things. And one of the keys is that they said is that each family will have different stories and different key moments and memories that are shared. And it's not just the content of what is known that's the critical factor, but the process by which these things came to be known. It's through connecting, it's through telling stories, it's through sitting down and having conversations. One of the things that I love about the documenting that I do and the storytelling that I do is that my kids will sit down and look through them, and it inspires questions in them. It triggers questions in their mind that they want to ask, and they will ask me as they're going through these books, and I will tell them more stories based on their questions. And that's connection, that's conversation, and that's a big part of what this study is saying, that it's not just knowing the facts. I will link to the questions as well, the 20 questions that they asked. But it's not just, and they state, it's not just knowing the answers to these 20 questions. You could write, all of these answers down and have the kids memorize it. But what's more important is the connection that happens from the kids learning it. So sitting down and having a conversation and passing these stories on is what's the most important thing. The kids being able to ask questions and having a conversation about it. The fourth research-driven fact about telling our story that will change your life and your family is that telling and listening to personal narratives increases physical and mental health. This is also an article in the New York Times that I'll link to on the site. I have always said that documenting my story and telling my story through photos and words is the best therapy and the cheapest therapy that I've ever had. And I believe that more and more every day. And I see that more and more in my own life every single day. The growth and discovery that comes from me taking time to tell my story and look through my photos and put them together is invaluable. I couldn't get it any other way than by looking through my photos and realizing, you know what? I didn't spend very much time with this kid this week. I didn't do enough of this week. I really need to work on this week. And it's not beating myself up. It's just a matter of inventory and improvement and trying to be a better person. I don't feel bad. I don't feel guilty. I just realize that this is what I need to work on. Where if I wasn't doing that inventory and looking at it that way, I wouldn't even notice. It's something that would not occur to me. It would not be brought to my consciousness, and I wouldn't be able to improve on it either. I've also been able to, because I've focused on gratitude, I've been able to work through some really difficult challenges and trials in my life and be able to face them, go through them, and feel better about them and be a better person because of them, because of the documenting that I've done and the focus on gratitude through my photos and my words. It really is amazing. It's something that I can't even sing praises about enough. If there are hard things going on in your life and you want a mental shift, start telling your story. And if you're already telling your story, figure out a way that you can tell it more often. Do an inventory. How often are you telling your story? Are you doing it monthly, weekly, daily, yearly? How often are you sitting down to really go through your photos and tell your story? Tell the good stuff, the hard stuff, the real stuff, the events, the birthdays, the celebrations, all of it. And figure out where you can make some changes so that you can have this experience in your own life, the improvement of physical and mental health. That's an incredible finding. It's really incredible. And who doesn't want improved personal, physical, and mental health? I know I do. Okay, the last, number 5 on my list is telling our story causes reflection and introspection. And this is from Brené Brown's Rising Strong. If you haven't read Brené Brown's books, I quote her a lot. I refer to her a lot. Her research is really amazing and life-changing. If you haven't read any of her books, I highly recommend Daring Greatly and Rising Strong, which are 2 of her more recent books. And that ties into the last item as well, that personal narratives increase physical and mental health. Telling our story causes reflection and introspection. I have seen that for sure in my own life, especially as I do my daily pages and I'm able to reflect on my day more fully and completely and figure out maybe during that day what I should have done different. And I will be honest, there have been times when I have thought to myself, man, I blew it today. I really did. And I regret the choices that I made today on how I spent my time. But doing that on a daily basis stops me from making the same mistakes the next day. And I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for the ability to make the changes so quickly. I really appreciate the opportunity to reflect and to have introspection and figure out maybe what I can do different with my interactions and my relationships, especially the ones that mean the most to me. Okay, so let's run through the list, recap it really quick. Number 1, these are 5 ways to change your life and your family by telling your story. Number 1 is recalling happy times increases happiness now. Number 2 is story is in our DNA, and we need it to connect with other people. Number 3 is all of that evidence about how children are more resilient and have a higher self-esteem if they know their family's story. Number 4 is telling and listening to personal narratives increases physical and mental health. And number 5 is telling our story causes reflection and introspection. I wanted to talk just a little bit about my daily pages and how they have changed me and changed my life. It's been an incredible journey that I went on, and I started it when I was going through one of the most difficult challenges and periods of time in my life. And I decided to do this in December of 2014 because I wanted to have something to look forward to each day. And I wanted to find something that I could be grateful for each day. And so that's how I approached it. I just wanted to have one thing, one photo, one screenshot, one something each day that I could focus on. And in a previous podcast, I talked about this, and I continued it for the following year and for a month or two into 2016. And the changes that I saw in my life and in my relationships were really very profound. I gained a self-confidence that I hadn't seen before and a self-awareness of who I really am. I strengthened relationships with the people that are most important to me, and I was able to mend some relationships, repair some relationships, because I was able to see where I had made mistakes and I had wronged some people and done some things wrong and needed to fix that and make amends for it. I became more aware of the blessings and the gifts that I had in my life, and really was able to see the hand of God in my life on a daily basis and understand what He expected of me. I was able to see how my interactions with members of my family could be strengthened and changed. I was able to see how I was spending my time and maybe what I needed to do differently, where I might be wasting time. But I also was able to see some of the hard things that I was doing on a daily basis. I was really surprised to be able to look back and see that I was doing hard things every single day. I was making hard choices, and I was accomplishing big things where normally you look at your days and your weeks and you think that you're not doing that much. But when you look and examine day to day and can see, I made this decision about spending my time here or there, and I feel like I did a really good job. It is really rewarding to be able to see those challenges overcome and those decisions, good decisions made. And I gained confidence from the fact that I was doing hard things all the time, even though they aren't things that a lot of people would think were hard. They were hard to me, and I got through them. And that had a huge impact on me, because the reality is, as mundane and boring as a lot of us think our lives are, we are doing hard things every day, and we're making big decisions every day, whether we're deciding to call a friend or text someone. And a lot of times we don't know the impact, the long-lasting impact that the little things might have in somebody else's life. And that is another thing that I learned as I saw the impact that other people were having in my life. I am so grateful for people that continually give of their time and their talents to me and to help me grow and improve and become a better person. That is something that has come from that experience. Brené Brown also teaches and has found in her research that everybody that she interviewed that have been through traumatic life events, survivors of genocide, and really things that I can't even imagine in my life, honestly. And she said that everyone that she interviewed that reported having joy, even genocide victims, survivors that reported having joy, it was because they had gratitude. They had gratitude. And their advice for us when she asked them was that for us to not take the simple things for granted,
to have gratitude for the times that we are able to be with family members and for the very simple things in life. Doing this daily documenting like I've done has helped me be more grateful for the very little things in life. It's changed me as a person, and it's changed me in all of the relationships that I have. And I'm so grateful for it. It was an accident. I didn't set out to have this happen. It was an accident. I've heard from a few of you that decided that you're going to try this too, and how it is changing you as well. And that is so exciting to me. It's changing how you see your life, how you see your family for the better. And it's so wonderful. And I can't wait to see more of you hopefully jump on board. Is it necessary? No, it's absolutely not necessary. Do you need to do it for a long period of time? No, you do not. Even a week, I think, could make a big difference. Documenting gratitude daily for a week could make a big difference. A month, a year is an undertaking, but I didn't intend to do it for a year. But when I stopped doing it for a few days at the end of 2014, I really missed it. And that's why I continued it, was because I could see and I could feel in my heart that it was changing me. I didn't know what it was doing, but I could feel in my heart it was changing me, and I wanted to keep doing that. And that's why I kept it up as long as I did. I have been very unsuccessful in other projects that I've tried to do, including a photo a day. But this has worked for me. And I think the biggest reason that it worked for me is because I could feel changes happening.
Thank you so much for being here today, for listening, and for sharing with me your experiences as you're on this photographic journey through life of yours. I really appreciate hearing from you. And be sure to connect with us on social media, Facebook, Modern Photo Solutions, or facebook.com/Modern Photo Solutions. Instagram, we are the same user handle over there as well, Modern Photo Solutions. I would love to hear from you in the show notes. You can leave a comment there or email me and direct message me or comment on social media. Take a moment and leave a review in iTunes if you haven't already. I really, really appreciate that. And be sure to check out the Heart of Photo Fabulous course. Once again, that is modernphotosolutions.com/iOS and modernphotosolutions.com/Android. They are two completely different classes because documenting on one device, one platform versus the other is very different. So the courses had to be different. So check those out. Registration closes August 31st, and then it won't open again until January. Thank you for being here. Thank you for letting me share part of your day with you. I really appreciate it. And we will see you next time on Modern Photo Solutions.